A new school year is here.
And as our campus comes alive once again, let's also do our part to keep everyone healthy and safe.
The rainy season brings an increased risk of illnesses like flu, dengue, COVID-19, and other viral infections.
If you're feeling unwell, whether it's a fever, cough, cold, sore throat, or body aches, stay home, consult a doctor, and avoid exposing others.
Protect yourself and those around you by eating healthy, staying hydrated, getting enough sleep, washing your hands regularly, and keeping your surroundings clean.
If you're in a crowded place or experiencing respiratory symptoms, wear a properly fitted face mask. Remember to dispose trash properly to prevent mosquito breeding.
Be extra careful during rainy days and always follow campus traffic and safety rules. Slow down. The campus speed limit is 30 kilometers per hour.
A healthy community begins with healthy individuals. Every small act of care helps protect classmates, co-workers, friends, and families. Let's work together for a healthier, safer, and happier Ateneo community.
This is a public service reminder from the Office of the Assistant Vice President for Health, Care, and Well-Being and Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM. Your one big FM.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. The voice of W Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak. Ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng eskwela. Radyo, Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero, sugod. Todo sa kayod, punong at tulong. Ipag W Eagle, galing-giting at gigil.
Coming up next, Cura, conversations on care, health, and healing on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay Atenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng eskwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero, sugod, todo sa kayod, tulong at tulong. Lipat na Blue Eagle, galing-giting at gigil. Blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan.
Health isn't just about medicine.
It's about care,
Community,
and conversation. That's why Radyo Katipunan brings you Cura, your campus medical show.
From everyday wellness tips to expert advice on the health issues that matter most to you.
Cura is here to listen, guide, and care
The Ateneo way.
Join us as we talk about healing
Hope and health right here on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Cura, your campus health companion
Where care meets conversation.
Magandang gabi, Ateneo, and welcome back to Cura, Conversations on Care, Health, and Healing. I'm Dr. Tipi Sumpayco Tachaco. And however your day went, mabilis ba, mabagal, pagod ngayon, I'm really glad that you're here with us tonight. So sa pag-wind down nyo, kami yung kasama nyo. Because today, Doc Jello, is a conversation that I think all of us will need.
Agree, Dr. P. Once again, I'm Dr. Jello Apostol, and tonight's episode, Dr. P, is called Para kay Lolo and Lola, Home Care for the Elderly. And I have to say, Dr. P, no, all of the topics that we've covered so far in Cura, this one is the one that feels most personal because, almost all of us either have an aging parent, an aging lolo or lola, or we ourselves, no, tayo mismo, I feel it sometimes.
Oo, lalo na ako, bata-bata mo.
Hindi naman daw.
Oo.
But like we all think about and we all think ahead to what that season of our lives will look like, and most importantly, sino ang mag-aalaga sa atin.
Right, exactly, Doc Jello. Pero sandali, shoutout muna. Hi, tatay. Hi, nanay. Ikaw, buwan ka
Hello
na.
din po sa aking mga sa tatay, nanay at sa aking mga lola na buhay pa.
Wow. Okay. Ay, ang papa din. Hi, papa. O, ito. And before we get to that practical side, yung tips, yung evidence, yung mga doable, everyday things, I want to start somewhere warmer, Doc Jello. Kwento ka naman, meron ka bang favorite memory tungkol sa lolo or sa lola? Something that really makes you smile.
Alam mo, Dr. P, not a lot of people know, but when people ask me, mama's boy, papa's boy ka ba? I always say that I'm a lola's boy.
Oh.
I was raised by my lola ima. Sa Pampanga, ang tawag namin sa lola ay ima.
Okay.
Or like mother. And I remember, as a young kid, ang paborito kong ulam ay chicharong bulaklak.
Wow.
Oo.
Sarap yun. Naku,
And-
tapos Pampanga pa. Sarap
Sa
siguro
Pampanga,
niluto,
oo.
no?
And sa probinsya, parang like you have to be able to buy it fresh. And mabilis maubos yan sa palengke. So I remember, if I tell my lola na, Lola, tomorrow I'm craving for chicharong bulaklak, she would wake up really early in the morning. Pupunta yan sa palengke. Tapos uunahan niya yung mga, makikipag-unahan yan para bilhin yung chicharong bulaklak na aking kakainin for breakfast. And you know what, Dr. P? That memory is part of why our episode tonight matters to me. So many of our elders, no, spent their whole lives taking care of us without being asked, and now when it's our turn to take care of them, a lot of us genuinely don't know where to start. Tama ba itong gagawin natin?
That's true, no?
Diba? And parang walang guidance eh. Parang no one really prepares you for taking care of.
Walang manual, ganun.
Walang manual.
Walang
oh.
manual.
How about you, Dr. P? Is there a core memory?
Core memory? Okay. Ako, lola ko din. Tawag namin Lola Mami. Si Lola Mami siguro yung core memory ko. Pero, it's not one thing. So, ang laging sasabihin sa akin ng lola ko na secret daw namin pero alam ng lahat. Ikaw yung number 1, 2, 3 ko. Yun yung sinasabi niya. So, kaya feeling ko love na love din ako.
Paboritong apo ka pala, Dr.
Kasi panganay akong babae, paboritong apo, syempre feel ko ako yung paborito. Kahit tingin ko paborito naman niya lahat. I'm sure yung mga cousins ko, i-claim nila sila din yung paborito. Pero yung feeling na yon na ay paborito ako ng lola, 1, 2, 3 ako yon. Kasi nung time na yun, ako pa lang naman. So, yun ang aking core memory. Yung pagmamahal, yung mga maliliit na bagay, yung pang-araw-araw na nararamdaman natin. Yun yung parang damang-dama ko pa rin hanggang ngayon.
And you know, Dr. B, that's really the heart of tonight's episode. And this episode really honors the aging people, that we grew up with, that took care of us. And right now, we ask ourselves, how do we take care of them? Paano natin isusukli yung pag-aalaga na binigay nila sa atin? And, home care for our elderly, it's also not just about medicine or safety-proofing the house or checklist. Even though, we'll try to go through some of those technical aspects tonight, Dr. P. But at its core, it's about honoring the people who raised us and helping them feel safe, respected, and loved in the place that matters most to them, our
Yung
homes.
home, no? Tama. So, tonight, we're going to keep things grounded and practical. So, meron tayong mga real tips that you can start using this week. Siyempre, kung meron tayong kasama, lalo na sa bahay natin, mga aging parents or lolo and lola. Tapos, whether you have a lot of resources at home or di naman, yung sakto lang, 'di ba? So, pag-uusapan din natin yon, whether lolo or lola is fully independent or yung may kailangan ng mas day-to-day support. Kasama po yan sa ating conversations tonight. So, let's get started, Doc Jello.
Yes, Dr. P. And joining us tonight are two people doing genuinely important work in this exact space. So we have Nicole Paterno and Dr. Angelo Ramos. They're co-founders of Nansy Care. It's a pioneering platform connecting Filipino families with vetted and trained caregivers for the full continuum of home-based care.
Yes, so welcome, Nicole, Doc, Angelo. Jello din, di ba?
Yeah.
Anong tatawag namin sa iyo ngayon, Doc?
You can call me Angelo.
Angelo, okay. Angelo,
thank you.
Angelo. Uy, okay yan. Mga anghel ang kasama natin ngayong gabi.
So welcome to Cura.
Salamat for having us here. Good evening po sa ating mga audiences tuned in.
So good evening, Doc TP, Doc Jello, and good evening to all our listeners and to those watching our program.
So let's get started. Let's start with you, Nicole. No, you've had this really interesting career arc, no, from building the Philippines' early startup ecosystem to going into impact investing, venture building, and now you're focusing on home care, among other things, and including the elderly. For our listeners who would like to know more about your story, what led you into the caregiving business?
Curious din ako dyan.
You know, this care giving business all started when I became a parent. And then, as I was raising my son, I couldn't help but compare na iba na yung yaya ngayon sa mga yaya namin noon. And it was just so hard to keep them, you know. Tapos, nung lumalaki si Mio, I noticed na parang there was something wrong with him. And then, when we had him assessed, yun nga, he was diagnosed to have developmental delay. So I said, oh my gosh, I need somebody who would be able to help me raise my son so that I also don't get so fatigued. Because around the time, I was getting care fatigue na dahil I was very hands-on with Mio and at the same time trying to pursue my career. So it was... Everybody was saying, wow, you're such a superwoman. Pero deep down inside, no, I'm not. I'm crumbling na. It's so hard, you know. But, you know, I was, you know, so hell-bent in, you know, trying to look for this solution. At first, it was a childcare solution. But when I started speaking to families, and this was during the height of the pandemic, everybody gave me something to chew on. They said, Nicole, nasa punto na kami sa buhay namin na we're not only raising kids, we're also concerned about our parents.
Yeah.
Kasi,
Sandwich na sila.
Sandwich generation na tayo.
Yes.
Tsaka, nag-evolve na yung society. In the sense na, dati, lahat tayo nasa isang compound. Or we were just nearby. Hindi pa ma-traffic noon. So, easy to call somebody to come over kung nag-leave ang household help or whatever. But now, it's different eh. And we also see the way how families are structured. Most are already nuclear families. And then your extended families or non-immediate families, they're far away na. Everybody's mostly in a condo, 'di ba? Tapos tawag dito, tricky na rin with the household help. Dati all around, ngayon they wanna be more specific. May specialization na rin sila.
And kasi nagbabago rin yung care needs natin,
Care
no,
needs.
through time.
Yes.
Hindi na lang yung simple may magbabantay sa'yo.
Correct.
So,
Tsaka siguro kultura din, no?
Yeah.
Parang may mga changes din in culture ngayon na nakikita na.
Talagang lahat nag-evolve.
Right.
And that goes without saying na even care also evolve
Nag-iba
na
na rin.
rin.
Yeah.
So the story pala of Nancy Care came from something very personal.
Oo, may need na na-identify, no? Pero ito kay Doc Angelo, curious naman ako, ikaw, paano naman yung shift? Let's say from a public health medical practitioner to digital health. Tama, yun yung background mo, no? Paano ka naman napunta sa Nancy Care, Doc?
Yes, thank you. So actually, there's a bit of similar history getting into this area, no? Kasi nga, as a public health practitioner, my whole practice really was on looking at gaps, di ba, in healthcare delivery. And all these years I've been looking at gaps in the primary healthcare system, tertiary healthcare system, sa hospitals. Pero I realized na talaga meron palang mga lalaking gaps much closer to home, literally sa bahay, no? And kasi ako personally, I experienced that. Kasi di ba, I had to take care of aging parents. And nakita ko talaga yung gap na yon, no? So, I was also working on the use of technology, yung health informatics, no? And because of that, I got into several projects. So, for example, I worked with, one of our big telcos. And actually, yung working with the telco, one of my close colleagues there was the one who introduced me to Nicole, no? And doon ko nakita na talagang yung aming parang nakikitang mga issues and gaps talaga nag-match, no? So that's how I got involved in Nancy Care.
Yun pala yun.
So very personal din pala yung pinagagalingan ni Dr. Angelo. And you know what? I thank you very much for sharing the personal origin story, no, of Nancy Care. And a lot of our listeners, Dr. P, will be able to relate to that because a lot of our listeners are already caregivers, whether they've ever used that term to refer to themselves or not. Whether you are an anak na nag-aalaga ng magulang, kasama sa bahay na parang pamilya na, di ba? Or kapatid na laging on-call. Maraming ganyan yung usually mga bunso. Hello po sa aking kapatid. Hello, Nikki. Yung mga bunso sa pamilya na ba?
Pero hindi, pati panganay. Actually, lahat naman ng anak. Di lang bunso ikaw talaga.
Hindi, pero kadalasan kasi di ba, yung bunso yung naiiwan para mag-alaga ng aging parents.
Yung babae, naman yan, stereotype naman yata yan, Doc Jello.
Hindi naman. Lahat, no? Panganay, middle child, or bunso.
Yes,
diba? Kasi panganay ka pala, Doc.
Panganay ako.
Ayan. Pero marami sa atin caregiver na pala, kahit hindi natin yung nasasabi ng malakas.
Tama,
diba?
tama. And that really sets the tone for tonight, Doc Jello, no? Because everything we're going to talk about, nutrition, safety, mental health, lahat nito meant for exactly those people, yung mga caregiver, whether formally trained or parang tayo, wala naman tayong formal training, no? So, pag-uusapan natin yon. So, pag-usapan na natin ang ating main topics for tonight. Simulan na natin. Pag-usapan natin ang nutrition. So, ito, lahat ng tao kumakain, no? So, lahat ng households, importante ang nutrition natin. So, Dr. Angelo, baka gusto mo kaming pasimulan. Ano ba dapat yung kinakain or dapat nutritional needs that we take into consideration if we're taking care of seniors or elderly people in the house?
Nagbabago ba, Doc Angelo, yung nutritional needs ng mga elderly? And what often do we get wrong or fail to consider when thinking about the nutritional needs of our elderly, family members?
I guess siguro based on common experience natin lahat, no, taking care of elderly loved ones, no. So siguro napapansin din natin even siguro sa sarili natin na siguro as we grow older, yung sinasabi nila that nagkakaroon ng changes in metabolism, and then yung iba daw halimbawa medyo hindi na masyadong ganon kataas yung gana, for example, ng pagkain or pag-inom ng tubig, no. So usually that's what we notice, for example, from our loved ones. Minsan sa sarili din natin, no? Pero that really doesn't mean na overall nag-change yung nutritional needs natin, ano? Siguro ang isang very critical aspect na nakakaligtaan natin taking care of our elderly loved ones is na ina-assume natin na dahil tumatanda na si Lolo, si Lola, for example, na kailangan medyo yung alam ba, we tend to give them mga softer foods, baka pwede sa kanila mga lugaw, yung mga ganon, yung mga easily digestible foods, no, na well, in one aspect understandable naman yun, ano, pero ang nakakaligtaan natin is that as you know, as people grow older, 'di ba? Meron kasing niresh na tinatawag na yung muscle, 'di ba? Yung nag-aano yung muscle, nag-waste ng muscles, so yung tinatawag na yung medical term na sarcopenia, no?
Yes.
And it's really because nababawasan ng protein intakes, no? So, I guess yun ang nakakaligtaan natin na even yung mga elderly natin, kailangan, we have to make sure na nabibigyan natin sila ng good protein sources, no? So, for someone na medyo elderly na baka hindi na ganong ganado kumain, no? Siyempre, kasi when you think of protein, ano ba yan? Mga steaks ba yan? Mga meat, di ba?
Ang mahal naman ng steak, Doc
Oo,
Angelo.
diba? Yun na nga eh, mga beef, ganyan, no? So it can be as simple as, eggs, or tofu, or fish, mga munggo, chicken, yung chicken, alisin yung, di ba? Yung alisin yung skin, di ba? Yun ang pwede sa elderly.
So, kumbaga, yung pinggang Pinoy pa rin, no? Katatapos lang natin ang nutrition episode natin. So, kailangan healthy plate pa rin
Yes.
for the elderly. Pero nahalata niyo po ba na parang kumukonti talaga yung gana ng mga matatanda? Or kailan ba tayo kailangan mabahala na parang, hindi na yata normal yung pagkawala ng gana nila?
And in addition to that, no, I'd like to, Nicole, like, based on the people that you serve sa Nansy Care, ano yung mga common nutritional related na concerns na of the people that you serve aside from yung nawawalan ng gana?
Well, of course, sometimes they eat na sometimes not on time. Like, they have, parang nag-iiba na rin kasi yung body clock in a way. So like, we currently have a patient, because she's elderly, but she's still active in the family business. Her work occupies most of her time and she eats at odd hours na. And we can't allow them not to eat, right? So the caregiver is there to remind them na you have to eat kahit ganito lang.
Kahit small portions
small
lang. Oo.
portions lang of food. And then we've also had instances wherein very specific, like they have to follow a certain, let's say, measurement of food for the day, or in the event na hindi nakakain kasi wala ngang appetite or hindi ko trip yung pagkain, at least bigyan man ng Ensure, because Ensure is quite complete.
Oh.
Parang food supplements.
Mga food supplements.
Yeah.
Pero I guess like my question is like, what if hindi afford? Kasi
Medyo
yung
mahal
mga
din
food
yun.
supplements
Oo.
medyo mahal din. No?
Mahal din. Yeah, that's
are there
true.
any tips, no? So Nicole and Dr. Angelo, that more budget-friendly tips or options that you also offer to the people that you serve?
Yeah. So, we advise, for example, yung families, no, that face that, issue with their loved ones, Pero kasi nga yung issue na halimbawa na habang, when people get older, medyo nawawala ng gana. I guess it's also because, di ba, as we get older, actually may mga studies that show na medyo nabablunt na yung ating taste buds.
Yeah.
And then even yung sense of smell. And there's actually, di ba, those two are quite important in eating.
In the
Connected
joy
sila
of
eh.
eating.
The joy of
Yeah,
eating.
smell
So,
and the taste,
Yeah,
it's
so na medyo
connected
nabablunt na yon, no?
Yeah.
So because of that, no, yun nga, that this is where supplementation can come in na, no? So, yun na nga, in terms of, what budget-friendly parang options are out there, naman. I mean, for elderly na nga. So, supplements are available naman, even in, yung mga generics na drugstore, so they can easily avail of that. And then, yung simple mga vegetables, yung Filipino.
Fruits.
Vegetables, fruits.
So parang we start with whole food pa
Yeah,
din.
whole foods
food
pa
pa
rin.
rin.
Then,
Yes.
Pero siguro pati the way we cook it, di ba? We become more mindful kasi may dangers na. Or,
Yeah, so I think mga simple cooking. I mean, simple preps lang. Maybe, it depends din kasi on the patient eh. So, some of our caregivers, they can do meal preps. If, let's say, kailangan mag-prepare ng meals ng ng old folks. So, certain things like, can you prepare a sandwich for me? Anong klaseng sandwich? And then they will do that. Or, can you prepare, let's say, tinola, pero sans the mantika or sans this amount of patis, ganyan. So, things like that. So, it doesn't take rocket science actually to prepare simple food. In fact, the simpler it is, the healthier it is.
Or yun siguro yung preferred ng
Or
mga
preferred.
seniors
The
natin,
seniors,
diba?
yeah.
Kasi nakasanayan nila, hindi yung mga bagong way of
Yes.
cooking or iba-ibang lasa pa.
Pero naman, Doc Tepi, Doc Angelo, and Nicole, I wanted to raise a common notion among those who are caring for their elderly parents and family members. May mga nag-iisip din kasi na kapag matanda na, bigay nyo na kung ano yung hinihingi.
May comment ako dyan. May comment ako dyan. May comment ako
Kung
dyan.
nag-request ng lechon, bigyan nyo na ng lechon, di ba? Parang, how do you deal with that? Kasi maraming ganun eh. Or minsan, yung mismong family member natin, sasabihin, matanda na ako, pagbigyan nyo na ako. I probably
Wala
don't.
na akong restrictions.
Wala na ako.
8 years old na ako.
Oo, you only live once. Mag-yolo na ako. So, how do you encounter that kind of notion, belief, or practice in the people that you serve, the families that you serve? And like, how do you deal with that notion?
Okay.
Anong sagot doon?
Taking off from my mom, who's dealing with a lot of terminally ill patients. So my mom's an anesthesiologist and she subspecialized in pain management. So, in our table conversations, she would say, "Ay nako, I have this patient. Tas ganito yung family, personality of whoever is taking care of the patient plus the patient." And then of course, there are patients who will comply. But, at some point, they will complain, gusto ko naman may lasa yung pagkain ko. And then, what happens is, I don't know, they ask my mom. For some reason, the patients will always ask clearance from my mom just to make sure. Parang, doktora, pwede ba ako makatikim ng parang lechon? And then my mom's like, oo naman, kasi matagal ka nang di naglalechon. So, makatikim ka ng lechon, pero in moderation. In moderation. That's always the important word, moderation.
So being old does not excuse you from eating properly and in moderation.
Pero maganda rin kasi yung thought na hindi naman feeling deprived.
Yes, we don't want to deprive them.
Bawal, ganyan. Ayaw naman natin ng gano'n. So, balance lang talaga.
I mean, not to sound morbid, but this same patient that was begging my mom, can I eat lechon? She said, yeah. And the patients go, mamamatay na rin naman ako eh. So,
oh my gosh, medyo morbid nga yun.
So parang, my mom said, parang, we want you rin also to live the rest of your life not feeling you're deprived. But always key to your health is always moderation.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and we've talked about food. A related concept is hydration. Kasi minsan, nakakalimutan din, yung painumin ng tubig. Yeah. And naalala ko lang, Doc Tepi, because, I work on environmental health. Kapag may heat wave tayo, most of the ones who are really affected are the elderly.
Seniors. Elderly talaga.
And yung common cause of, sickness or sometimes even mortality is dehydration. So, Doc Angelo, parang, is there something that we need to better understand about the hydration risks and needs of our elderly loved ones?
Yeah. So yun na nga, the elderly are actually more prone to dehydration than younger adults, no. So that's something very important you need to keep in mind. And at the same time, yun na nga, elderly kasi medyo parang either nakakalimutan or they forget to drink regularly, So a good advice there would be just to make sure that there's water available. To if you have an elderly loved one at home, just make sure there's also water at hand for them, and then to set a schedule. Kasi don't wait for them to drink. Yung parang kung kailan nila talaga sila yung thirsty. Sometimes kasi minsan that's too late na yan, no? So maganda is just set a schedule na dapat every hour they should drink at least 1 glass, no? That really prevent, no? Kasi isang risk din is sinasabi mo mga Doc Jello, no, the environmental concerns din, no? Kasi nga because of climate change. And then yun na nga, 'di ba, nagiging mas mainit na ngayon ang panahon, 'di ba? So that's an additional risk, no, for the elderly getting dehydrated and at worst getting, heat exhaustion, heat stroke. That's what we have to watch out for. So yun, hydration is really key, and it's really important for us taking care of elderly loved ones to make sure na laging may water sa tabi nila at lagi sila nire-remind and set a schedule. Now, kung kaya, kahit hindi mo masyadong gustong uminom, you have to drink at least 1 glass of water every hour kasi we have to really prevent na ma-dehydrate ka. And yun na nga, maraming pwede mangyaring hindi maganda sa health nila, no, if dehydration sets in.
So ang galing kasi what I'm picking up is really intentionality and being deliberate about it. Yung sinasabi ni Doc Angelo, parang it's very simple, just making sure that water is available to them, parang malapit sa kanila. Diba? Kasi you can't expect them din naman, diba, to rise up, maghahanap pa ng tubig. So really just making it available and accessible to them is a very simple and practical solution to make sure that our elderly loved ones are hydrated.
Also to remind them about their thirst. Diba? Kasi minsan ayaw din natin ng overhydration na, sige, pinipilit mo rin na every hour or every 30 minutes, inom ka na, ganyan, diba? Balance lang din, no, yung gusto natin. Pero sige, maganda yung mga tips na kuha natin for nutrition, for hydration. Punta tayo dun sa next na gusto rin natin pag-usapan. Alam niyo po, lagi natin nababalitaan, etong si Lola ganito, nabalian. And, diba, ngayon, yun yung parang nakakatakot, sinasabi ng mga families. Actually, sinasabi nga sa akin ng nanay ko, parang natatakot sila na mahulog, mabalian, kasi parang downhill na raw pag nabalian yung isang elderly.
That's true.
Ano yung mga thoughts niyo po tungkol dito?
And totoo ba na parang for the elderly, a single fall can immediately cause a fracture? Kasi ako, ilang beses na rin naman akong natumba pero hindi naman ako na-fracture.
Hindi ka na-sprain?
Hindi naman. Medyo matib. Maraming fats, Doc, Maraming padding. Pero marami kasing padding. Pero totoo ba yun? Let's start with Doc Angelo na parang, is there science to believe that our elderly loved ones, because of their age, are more brittle to falls?
Yes, there's some truth to that, no. Yun nga sa elderly, especially for example, let's take for example women, So halimbawa yung past menopause na, kasi as we know, 'di ba, women that are nag-menopausal na usually nagkakaroon na ng slow breakdown yan ng bones, no, dahil because of yun nga nababawasan na ng mga female hormones like that. So that's why importante ang calcium supplementation sa women na elderly, Pero even for men, no, that can also be a risk, no. So much so that actually yun na nga even sa training ng mga caregivers, nurses, that's really pointed out na kailangan isang importanteng trabaho ng isang caregiver, whether it's a professional caregiver or even family members, we give them advice. Is that really watch out for falls, no? Kasi especially lalo na pag mga past 70 years old, no? Ang isang very high risk na fall and injury yung sa hips. Sa hips, no? Kasi 'di ba that's highly correlated daw pag nagkakaroon ng bali sa hip because of falls, that will cause mga problems sa blood na pwede magkaroon ng blockage sa mga blood vessels and heart, no? So yun yung binabantayan. And yun din, no? May mga study din na sinasabi na may high risk for tinatawag natin na morbidity, 'di ba, and mortality sa mga elderly persons nagkakaroon ng hip fractures. So yun, kailangan natin bantayan 'yan.
And osteoporosis pa kasi
osteoporosis,
sila. Yes. Talagang prone sila.
Yes.
Yes. Yung question ko kay Nicole naman siguro, like, are there factors in the environment of the elderly na we need to keep an eye on? Or how do we prevent? Siyempre, prevention yung gusto natin. So, meron ba kayong na-identify when you deploy a caregiver into a household? Meron ba silang mga things to watch out for?
Well, definitely. Kami nga, we even ask the families, we need to figure out, okay, where are your parents located? And if, let's say, they're in the second floor, are the caregivers going to be stationed on the second floor, right? And will you allow the caregivers to be within like a comfortable distance, especially when they go to the bathroom. Yun, the main culprit are the bathrooms eh. So, for our elderly folks, we have to make sure that the bathroom is quite safe. Like, make sure that there are anti-skid provisions on the floor.
Alam mo yan, yung parang mat na may,
Yeah.
may parang rough na.
Yes, either a mat or they're actually tapes.
Parang tapes, yes.
Yeah, they're like I think 3M tapes that you can like line up within like the shower or bathtub areas, and then make sure that there are railings that they could grip onto, right? But if there are no railings available, then kind of make sure that you have an eye on the movement of your elderly loved one.
Yeah.
Because a lot of accidents really happen in the bathroom.
Right.
Now, outside of the bathroom, if your elderly folk can still manage to go up and down the stairs, then that's good because you want to encourage mobility.
Physical activity.
Activity, okay? But you just have to make sure that they have the right grip, right? And I think most important then for elderly folks is know when to ask for help because I do observe that some of the elderly folks, they're quite stubborn because they're insisting, kaya ko pa. When in fact, no, it says otherwise, So, ganon. And, some families, what they do is they transition na from the higher ground to the lower ground.
Sa ground floor
Sa ground floor na
sila.
sila. Hindi na sila aakyat. And just to make sure na the ground floor is already set up to, let's say, ease of access to the kitchen and making sure that hindi rin sila ma-aksidente in the kitchen. Ease of access na rin to the bathroom when they need to go, ganyan. And then, if they're prone to like bangga or falls, yung putting safety measures on edges of
Parang
furniture.
babies ba
Parang
yan?
baby. Kasi parang nagiging baby na rin yung ating mga elderly folks eh.
So parang siyang baby-proofing. But for
Baby-proofing,
our
yeah.
senior
Ano yan?
loved
Senior
ones.
proofing yan.
Senior-proofing siya. Oo. So we've mentioned about mga anti-skid sa bathroom, but also mga
Mga
railings, no? And even like redesign lang, no? Parang making the specific parts of the house more accessible to them. Like if they need to go to the kitchen to get food or water.
Tsaka siguro yung lighting.
The lighting
Diba?
and also
Yeah.
changing configurations then of, let's say, the furniture. So that and I think family members should be observant then of what the behavior and the manner of elderly folks are, right? So that they can set up the place that is safe and then make sure that typical spills, so you take care of the spill and whatever is slippery, you make sure that they're not left lying there, diba? It has to be cleaned kaagad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like none of these really sound like massive home renovation, di ba, Doc Tipi?
Magastos yata yun. At saka, sabi nga ni Nicole kanina, what if nasa condo kasi sila, di
Mm.
ba? And maraming families, parang ganun yung mga tinitirahan. Yan, kasama na rin si Lolo, Lola dun sa bahay. No? Pero Doc Angelo, may question ako. Meron bang pwedeng gawin? How can we help the seniors? Diba, you talked about sarcopenia, yung nawawala, yung mga muscles nila. Meron ba tayong pwedeng ipagawa sa kanila para at least to maintain the amount of muscles that they currently have?
And their balance, di
Tsaka
ba? Yung balance, sense of
agility
balance.
nila.
Yeah.
Alam mo, Jello, parang ang hirap nga. Na-try mo ba? Minsan mag-uupo ka lang, yung upo ka dahan-dahan. Ang hirap nun ah. Yun.
Kinabahan ako kasi parang nararanasan ko na po yun.
Diba?
As a
Gusto mo mag-drop ka na lang na
Di ba?
ganun eh.
Oo.
Yun nga, kasi nga ang number one kalaban talaga ng aging is yung muscle wastage, no? So the key here, no, is really to make sure na even as you grow older, kailangan na maintain mo yung I won't say really an active lifestyle, but as much as possible, talagang active. So yung appropriate exercise is good, movement is good, no? So for example, no, yung kasi balance kasi is an important issue with the elderly, no? And usually kasi parang medyo nade-delay na reaction nila at yung medyo weak na rin. Usually kasi yung lower muscles yun may weakening muscles mo sa legs and feet kaya ka lose ng balance. So usually, no, ang ina-advise namin sa sinasabihin namin yung mga care professionals namin na ibigay na exercise, yung mga ano lang, actually yung mga a very easy test that you can ask an elderly, patient or loved one to do, yung just to see how they rise from a chair and then go down, no? Doon mo talaga makikita kung kung maganda pa yung balance
Yung
nila.
lower body,
Lower body
lower
talaga.
body strength pala yan.
Yes, oo. And then yung even squatting, yung just let them do squats, no? So, doon mo rin makikita kung strong sila or may kailangan tulungan. Ayun, doon mo sila that's some very easy exercises that you can ask an elderly
Siguro ma-modify na lang nila ng
ma-modify.
konti, di ba? May hawak ng konti, pag mag-squat. Or marami ngayon sa YouTube yung chair exercises.
Yun, yung
Nakita mo
chair.
na ba yun?
Yun, yung tatayo ka lang yun
Oo. Or ito nakaupo sila, but they're exercising. Kasi a lot of our seniors, ito rin nahalata ko, parang gusto nila puro cardio. Lakad na lang na lakad.
Tsaka Zumba.
At Zumba.
But
Wala
that's
yung
still important.
resistance exercise. And I think yung resistance exercises are still important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yung cardio kasi it's really it's for the heart. It's helpful, no? Pero yun na nga, dahil kailangan mo rin ng muscle strength and tone as you grow older. Yun. Kailangan mo resistance training din, Doc, no? So yun na nga, kung kaya nila ng mga kahit light weights lang, maybe in a chair, you can do some,
Or like heavy books.
mga books.
Carry,
Ganun lang, pwede na yan.
But what I'm also getting here, Dr. P, is that, again, kanina sinabi natin, being old is not an excuse to YOLO when it comes to food. Ang nakukuha ko rin dito is that being old is not an excuse to not exercise.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to preventing falls, no? Because you really want to build your muscle.
Pati yung agility kasi important din, di ba? Yung sinasabi natin, minsan mabagal na sila.
Mabagal.
Kailangan practicein. Paano ba yung tamang way of falling kung mahuhulog sila?
Yeah. And when there's exercise, like in the regimen or routine, exercise also promotes then in a way bone growth. Kasi it helps strengthen the bones. It might also reproduce bones. We don't know But it has been proven that movement is really the best. At whatever age, movement is always the best. I mean, supplements can only do so much then. But, keeping, not really active, but making sure that you're able to mobilize yourself is key rin. Because, yun nga when you hit a certain age, your bone density is diminishing na So,
Tsaka,
what do you need to do to prevent that in a way?
Right. At saka siguro yung movement, it also brings joy.
Ay, oo, the endorphins, diba?
Yes.
Endorphins.
Magzuzumba brings you, it also is able to release those emotions. Let's say they have anger
hormones.
issues, anxiety issues. So they have an outlet.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because that really brings us to the next topic. Kasi our first two topics, nutrition and fall prevention, they're very physical. Pero minsan, Dr. P, Doc Angelo and Nicole, minsan nakakalimutan yung mental and yung psychosocial aspect, no? Siguro let's start with Nicole this time. Is that like a common problem? Yung mga mental health issues, everything from memory issues to feeling sad or melancholic or lonely.
Yeah.
Is that something that you encounter a lot? Or what are the mental health issues that you encounter often in the people that you serve sa Nansy Care?
Well, it starts kasi with how the family is set up. So we have some patients who are with family, so they're a bit okay. Mindset, mentally, they're okay. But let's say, nag-empty nesters na. Ayan, medyo nagsiset in na anxiety, a little bit of depression, and they feel na, parang our kids don't care about us anymore. May mga ganun na drama din. You cannot fault them for that. So, I guess it's also important to make sure that these people have feelings, no matter how big or small. It's valid. You just have to find a way how to manage this. Like, my mom, okay, she's already at that age. Sometimes, all of us 3 kids have to tell her, no, don't worry, because we got your back. Reassurances.
Reassurances.
And then if, because there's distance na involved, you just have to make sure you have to check in. Like, oh, ma, kamusta ka na? Either a text or, ma, you call them, ma, how are you now? What are you doing?
And how often do you do that?
I mean, try to do it weekly. I mean, everybody I know will claim, I have a busy schedule, but, just a simple text lang in a day will help. Or if you want to call, you can call whenever you can. Diba? But it's important that they don't feel that they've been forgotten or overlooked. And when you visit, they make tampo at you. You can't help it, But yeah, I mean, I think for us, we have to be the ones who will learn also how to manage and adjust to them.
Oh. And I like how we're looking at, one of the major drivers of mental health issues among the elderly is that lack of connection. No? Them being disconnected from their own families, their children, their friends. Siguro kasi minsan, some of their friends nawawala na rin na, di ba? Parang
have
moved
passed on.
So, and the solution is also making sure that you keep on re-establishing that connection.
Right,
Di ba? And being intentional and regular about it. Oo. Pero, quick question lang. Many of our sandwich generation, they often come up with the reason or the excuse na we're too busy. So, what's your advice? What's your practical advice of maintaining that connection despite the reality of us being very busy?
Yeah, taking care of your children, working,
Yeah.
and then parents pa na living away from you.
Yeah.
Diba?
And parang even with the people that you serve, the families that you serve, di ba? Parang it's very easy to link them up with a professional caregiver.
Yeah.
Pero hinahanap-hanap din talaga nila yung genuine connection with the people that they love. So, what advice do you give, or what guidance you give?
That's a very interesting question that you're posing, because not everybody is in a very uniform situation. I mean, regardless if you have a family or not, this happens. Some disconnect happens. I guess it's a matter of are we aware enough of the disconnection, and are we willing to put in even just the slight effort of making kamusta a person. I think a simple kamusta makes a whole world of difference to people, giving the impression that, I'm not forgotten.
Yeah. And speaking of forgetting, meron din tayo ngayon mga elderly folks na parang minsan nahalata natin, nakakakalimot na sila. Yung mga cognitive changes naman, di ba? So how do you have suggestions on how our listeners can spot the differences between regular cognitive decline and, dementia na pala to, or
Alzheimer's. But it's something that will need medical attention. Oo.
Pero where do you draw the line?
Look, Angelo.
Siguro si Angelo.
Siguro first, siguro one thing that we need to realize that, for example, yung dementia, it's actually not, yung parang, it's not a given na as you grow old, talaga magkaka-dementia ka. No? It's not automatic. No?
Okay.
Pero yun na nga, as many of us naman, meron tayong konting, parang cognitive issues as we grow older. We forget things, no? But that does not necessarily mean na that's already dementia. So that's something we need to differentiate, no? For example, when we care for our elderly loved ones, no, na yung mga simple na nakakalimutan, for example, anong kinain mo kanina, where you left your keys or your phone or whatever. I mean, it all happens to us, no? Pero yung signs of dementia, yon, that's something that you need to watch out for. So, for example, yung mga daily activities that a loved one used to do na talagang part of their part of their
routine
or activities of daily living.
Bigla nang nakakalimutan, nawawala. That's a concerning sign, and that's one of the first signs that you need to watch out for. And then if it happens, as much as possible, get some help na pa-assess na yan. Kasi meron naman mga test na ginagawa, for example, ng mga neurologists, di ba? And kung hindi naman, if you can go to ask any doctor naman, no, and they can also assess, no. So I guess that's one of the practical things that you can do to spot, no. And sa dementia rin kasi yung mga one concerning factor sa dementia din that's related to nutrition, that's related to falls, then is sometimes yung mga people with dementia for example, they would forget to eat, they forget to drink water. So yun, kailangan din nating bantayan yun.
So, once they start forgetting yung mga seemingly everyday and ordinary things that we do on a regular basis, no? Parang it's not normal aging pala, Doc Tipi, no? But it's probably something, pointing to something that might need further investigation. Now that we're on the topic of mental health, we're not just talking about the mental health of the aging loved one, no? But also a very real phenomenon is yung nababurn out yung caregiver mismo, the mental health of the caregiver. Is there something that you can advise, no? Especially for those who are our listeners who are
ngayon, na
nag-aalaga,
ng
no?
kanilang lolo, ng kanilang mga magulang. May tips po ba kayo?
How do you prevent it? Or how do you manage it if it's not preventable?
Actually, you can't prevent it kasi nandiyan na most of the time So what you can do is, for the professional caregivers kasi, they're kind of built na to take on that sort of personality, especially when they are assigned dementia cases. I think most difficult are really dementia cases because not only do the long-term and the short-term memories are impacted, but the mood swings. People can get violent. In fact, one of our underboard nurses was telling me, "Ma'am, I'm so glad the patient is already accepting me or is already comfortable with me because for the first few days, ma'am, she was chasing me with a slipper and she was about to hurl the slipper at me."
Wow.
And there was an instance though, she hurled the slipper. She said, "Ma'am, buti na lang na-dodge ko." And I'm like, "Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm so glad." And she said,
Baka very playful lang. Akala nagtutumbang preso, di ba?
So I mean, with dementia patients kasi, if also not treated, not only with medicines and with nutrition and with regular checkups with their doctors, they really tend to be violent. There's strong emotions involved. So with that, the caregivers are actually primed to take on that patients, and we're very lucky that we have a partner from Iloilo who is specializing on dementia care, and he gives trainings on how to prepare caregivers and loved ones in handling dementia patients. So
and I think that's very important, no? If you are anticipating burnout, and you will anticipate it, you have to be intentional as well when it comes to preparing yourself, di ba?
Preparing yourself, knowing when to ask help.
Yeah.
Siguro, diba, from other professionals, oy, sub naman, or I need a break, diba?
And parang we also tell families for the professional caregivers, I mean, these are not robots, ha? If you're asking them to do 24-hour duty, have a reliever for the next day to also do the same. You can't expect one caregiver to do 24-hour duties all throughout. They're gonna get burned, and the quality of care will suffer. So, in fact, when families come to us and, a lot of them say, we actually don't know how, this is our first time, we tell them, okay, how is the care? What are the demands? If it's matakaw sa demands, like kailangan 24-hour around the clock, okay, you need to have 2 caregivers para one gets to rest and one is on shift. Now, if it's light, sometimes they just do 12 hours for the day and then they come home na. But we also tell them that, please allow them also rest days because they also need to be with their families. In the same way, if you were caregiving, you also need some time out, to decompress from emotions and whatever pent up, feelings that you have because caring is tough.
Yes.
Caring is tough.
And you cannot give what you don't have.
Yes, you cannot pour from an empty cup.
Agree.
You cannot pour from an empty cup.
So ayan, now we move on to one of our more exciting portions of Cura, no? We have our fact or myth, no? So we'll be sharing with you
Fact or myth.
Fact or myth, no? So you either
Parang quiz to.
parang quiz, di ba? Pero it's rapid fire, di ba? Parang,
my God.
we
First
will
thing that comes to your mind, yun yung sagot.
Yes. So we'll share some statements, some questions, some common beliefs, and then you just say if it's a fact or a myth, and
Pwede
then
ba sila sabay sumagot? Tingnan natin.
tingnan natin kung ano. Back to back sila. Alright. So, Dr. P, why don't you get it started with our rapid fire fact or myth round for our episode?
Medyo na-tackle na natin to, pero ito muna. Losing your appetite is just a normal part of getting old. Fact or myth?
somewhere in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
Answer,
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
That answer.
Yeah, in between.
It depends kasi on the yung physiological din yung sinasabi ko nga kanina na yung for some LD na nababawasan na nabablunt yung taste buds, nababawasan yung smell, and that has an effect on appetite.
Okay. All right. Next one. Elderly people don't need to exercise anymore. Rest is best. Fact or myth?
Myth. Super myth.
Super myth.
Super myth.
Super
Tandaan
myth.
natin, kailangan mag-exercise. Ito, dementia is just a normal part of aging.
Myth.
No. It's sometimes kasi you age, you don't have dementia.
Yeah.
And dementia is not, it's not part of growing old. It's actually a medical condition.
Yes.
it's a medical
And you have to have it diagnosed.
Correct.
And when somebody has dementia, you need you need multi-specialists.
Alright. Our next fact or myth naman, no, parang is a question, no, or a statement from our audience. Hello po sa ating mga tagapakinig. My lolo or lola hasn't fallen yet. So that means our home is probably safe enough because there are no accidents so far. Fact or myth?
Myth.
Myth. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. So that something might
say,
happen.
You can say just
Or you
because.
don't want for it, wag mo hintayin na mangyari.
Yes, exactly. Because pag nag-fracture na lolo mo, well.
Yeah, it takes just one nasty
It's
fall.
downhill na.
Yeah.
And some of our patients, just because they had a fall, na lalong nag-deteriorate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. P.
Ito. Talking to elderly about their feelings will only make them sadder. Fact or myth?
Myth.
Myth.
Yes.
Oo.
So gusto nila ng kausap?
Yes.
Yes.
They're in denial too. Some older people are in denial too. That's just a front. But naghanap lang sila ng kausap sa
Yeah.
totoo lang.
And for me kasi ang important kasi I guess for every human being pero especially when you go older is kailangan importante sa atin yung sense of purpose and that they're valued. So, yung talking to an elderly loved one is very important, and yun nga, talking about feelings, etc. So, that's very crucial.
And I'm glad, Doc Angelo, you mentioned that, no, yung sense of purpose, because
Yes.
I actually know a lot of people in their golden years na that's something that they mention na nawawala, and that makes them really sad. Napakiramdam ko, wala na akong saysay. Wala, actually, yung linya is, parang wala na akong silbi.
Yun.
Diba sinasabi nila wala na akong
Sinasabi
silbi?
nila.
So,
kailangan ma-reassure din natin sila of their value and worth, di ba?
yeah, so sense of purpose. Now, last question for our fact or myth, and I think this is something that's very relevant to the work that you do sa Nansy Care. Professional caregivers are only for wealthy families. Fact or myth?
Okay, I would have to say it's in a way a fact because you need to have a level of income to pay these people for professional help. So, admittedly, we've had to turn down some clients in the past because they didn't have a budget for it. And we do, and ako, I don't want that. Ako, that hurts me so much when we're not able to give care when they desperately need the care kasi burnt out na eh. Rinig na rinig mo na sa boses eh. But wala, hindi po namin afford. And we don't want naman akasambahay kasi, parang they're not trained to do, let's say, lifts and transfers and whatever, diba? And yun yung estado ng pasyente. So, we try to find a way in the middle wherein, we can do some sort of training and reprieve para the family can, take some time out.
Yun ang maganda. Diba? I think maganda yung sinabi ni Nicole na you can also offer training. Kasi it gives hope for family members na kahit na wala masyadong resources. But if you can train them or train the kasambahay.
Yeah.
Diba?
We did it for our very first client, actually.
Yes.
We did it for our very first client.
What I'm also getting of it is that we need to prepare for it financially. Because we need to accept that if ever you will need professional care, diba, it will come at a cost, diba?
Right.
And you need to prepare for it financially.
Actually, yan yung, meron nga nakita parang isang form na chine-check kung yung seniors ba are ready for old age.
Yeah.
Diba? So kasama yan yung financial preparation, environment, sino mag-aalaga. So may mga questionnaires na ngayon na pwedeng gawin. Pero sige, kailangan na natin mag-wind down, Doc Jello. And as we do that tonight, siguro bago tayo umalis, maybe any final words or meron ba kayong gustong batiin? Message to the caregivers listening to us right now?
To the caregivers, whether you're trained under TESDA or you're doing this professionally, and for also the ones who are caregivers, because that's your default role, you know. Whether you're doing this professionally or not, we admire you for taking on this job, and it's not an easy job. And you are entitled to take a break. Don't feel guilty because you need it for your sanity. So if any of our viewers are in need of caregiving services, you can check us out, Nansy Care Services. We have a website, we have a Facebook page, we're also on Instagram, and Nansy spelled with an S, not with a C. That's another conversation to be held as to why it's spelled that way. But yes, we're here to help.
And Doc Angelo?
Yeah, so for our care professionals out there, no, so whether you're a professional, yung may license, or a family member, no, so there's there's a good option for you, no. So we're here at Nansy Care, we can provide training and also can provide employment opportunities for you.
Yes,
that is different from that is different and more safe for you than other options, no. And for our families that are grappling siguro with taking care, having the burden of taking care of an elderly loved one, no. So yun na nga, there's hope for you, and for our people who are growing older, no, and having this dilemma, no, yun na nga, it's really important for us to have that sense of purpose. Let's try to find that and nurture that as we get older. And yun na nga, don't forget to exercise.
Ayun. And drink water and eat on time.
Plenty of water.
And talk to your loved ones.
And talk to your loved ones. Connection. So thank you both, no, Doc
Thank you.
Angelo,
Thank you
Nicole.
for having us.
Yes,
Thank you for having us.
And really the generosity of this conversation tonight, diba, Dr. P? I think a lot of our families listening right now hopefully are feeling a lot more equipped and honestly a little less alone in taking care of our elderly loved ones.
Maganda yan, Doc Jello. So, maraming salamat, Nicole, Doc Angelo, for being here with us this evening. And to everyone listening, bago po kayo matulog ngayong gabi, maybe send a quick text. Text nyo na si Lolo, si Lola, si Nanay, si Tatay. Or if they're just in the next room or the next house or ilang steps lang dyan, puntahan nyo po. Give them a big hug. Spend a few minutes with them. And as we said earlier, magmahalan po tayong lahat. We're here to care for each other. So magandang gabi po. I'm Dr. Tipi Sumpayco Tanchanco.
And I'm Dr. Jello Apostol.
From all of us here in Cura, good evening.
Stay well, Ateneo.